Hello, everyone. Welcome live again on our lifestyle and culture program with Sir Alex. Today, we're going to be having our special guest. We're going to be having our intellectual community. Our guests are very special when it comes to politics, talk about diplomacy, and at the same time, education. Because education is the power we need when it comes to promoting our culture, our values, our continuity. It's not just our ancestral ways of life. However, what we can bring in to the table when it comes to international relationship, education, and our lifestyle, really. So thank you so much for viewers who have been following us, for those who are sharing at the same time. Our last week was really special. We were with Dr. Ogeshi, and it was really noticed that many of you had the chance to share the video and you actually watch it. Thank you so much. So today, I'm going to bring in our guest so we can talk about special activity that be going on in our community when we talk about diplomacy, education. Where are we? And what do we need to make special impacts in regard to the solution to the international relationship activity? So I'm going to bring in our guests now so we can start conversation and see what our guests have to have for us. So I have with me here one of our guests, Catherine Joseph. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you today?
Very good. Thank you for having me. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm great. I know it's a really busy community for you, and you're doing a lot in regard to international diplomacy activity. I know you're also a politician, our politician. So thank you so much for having the time for this program. Um, do you have any doubts or anything you want to add to the program in regard to the advert we put on?
No, everything is good. I'm looking forward to being able to have this chat with our people that are watching. Most especially the people of African descent. I'm looking forward to having the chat. So thanks for having
Excellent.
me.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Again, we're going to talk about diplomacy education when we look at what is going on in the global community. However, let's talk about your personal life and what you are doing in the community. I know you are engaged in many leadership and education, promoting grassroots awareness and in regard to either politics or immigration. What motivates you in this kind of role in the global community? What really motivates you to engage? Because you suppose everybody's thinking about looking after their family, children, and all that. What also motivates you to engage in this kind of activity?
I think I will say that it's my own personal experience. I'm a migrant from Nigeria, and I live in Ireland. So I've left my own home country for since 13 years and living in another country. And you know yourself the difficulty of a migrant in an European country, the difficulties that are out there for us. When you're coming, especially with the color of your skin, there's a whole lot of challenges out there for you. And I learned very quickly that you have to work harder. You have to deal with a lot of systematic racism. You have to deal with a lot of issues with you finding employment, issues with you even, something like even accessing some necessary information and services. So they were very difficult at the beginning for me. And I realized as well quickly that even my own certificate, where I did international relations back home from Nigeria as my first degree, and when I came here, I wasn't able to just use that to work or anything like that. Apart from that, I also have a diploma in ticketing and reservation, kind of like an aviation area, and quickly realized that having any degree, any sort of degree from any part of Africa, like where I'm from, is not something that I can go into employment straight away with. I have to do another degree here in Ireland, and I also realized quickly that for me to be able to get anything, I have to always try and be able to chase it, send emails, and maybe if it's a thing, I have to say, well, this is not fair on me. This is like an injustice. I have to fight for it. I have to look for all of the ways that I have to get those kind of things sorted for myself as a migrant person. And all of the normal difficulty that comes with somebody where you're not in your own country and not having your community around you, not having your close friends and family, all of those difficulties, those natural ones that also comes with that migration process. And then I quickly realized if I have all of this difficulty as a person who is not so much an illiterate, somebody who have a level of education, and the level of education that I have, if these difficulties are still there for me, I wonder what it will look like for those who came here from my own country or from other African countries with no English at all, like they cannot speak English or they don't have those knowledge to be able to even send something as simple as email, to be able to chase things when, maybe they get into trouble, legal situations, how they will be able to handle it, or finding jobs for themselves. And I quickly realized that, look, I have to become a representative for these people. I have to be able to help them out. I have to be able to support them. I have to give them that help that I didn't really get when I came in, and make life even easier for them. All of those things were motivations. And I also quickly realized that home is home. And the fact that our home is not good, the fact that our home is not developed and that are not fixed, is a problem for us, because even when you want to go back home as a migrant person, you also think about the security issues. You think about there's so much difficulties that are happening there. So I also felt that the key to the success or the development of Africa in itself, or my own home country, Nigeria, is for us in the diaspora to put our hands together and also help out from here. That's why I started the one here, and that's why I also try to connect with the people back home to try and do whatever I can to support the development of our country as well.
Wow. Thank you so much. You know what? You mentioned lots of things when we talk about education, when we talk about integration. So now, when back maybe 3 years ago, when I look at different professional background or different people when it comes to education, people end up their education, university and all that, then traveling, not with certificate or transfer of that education. This is where I want to really focus on value and cultural diplomacy when we talk about what does this mean in this perspective of your challenges in terms of education. What does it really mean? If people are asking, what does cultural diplomacy mean? What does it mean in your own sense?
As a person who did international relations, one of my subjects was diplomacy. And if you look at the way that diplomacy works in the international level, it is more of a political thing. It is more of a governance kind of way in terms of relating with other countries in a way that on a kind of diplomatic level, where you are actually negotiating good things for your country, where you are actually trying to create that good relationship between another country and your own country, where you are creating an enabling environment to have free trade, to have economic cooperation, to have educational or anything like that helps with the development of your own country. And in terms of culture as well and values, we also have to understand that when we're relating in this international level, this international level, that we're relating with other countries, that we also don't forget our own values, our own culture. We don't forget it, that we can bring that along with us. And bringing that along with you is not in a sense that you will go, let's say, for instance, you're in the Europe and you're employed in an office space and you just want to wear buba, or you want to go and dress like, all of those kind of, and just go there and break the company's rule. That's not the way. It's about understanding what you need to do at the right time. It's about preserving your culture, but yet understanding that when you're in a company and the company has their rules and regulation, you still need to follow that rules and regulation while keeping your culture as well. So, and the beauty of your culture, those values like we have in Africa, those values of respect for each other, community spirit, trying to our food, our music, all of the things that makes us, the value of our society, all those things that makes us, also being able to share that with other people in a way that preserves yours, again, protects your values, protects your, still keeps your culture intact. You're promoting it, you're trying to integrate. While you integrate with other people, while you learn their culture, you also let them in to learn about yours. You show them the beauty of your own values and your own culture. You are an ambassador for your country. This is the thing, I cannot stress this enough, that every project, every migrant, every African person who goes to other part of the world is an ambassador for their country. You are the one representing your country. It is the attitude, the value that you bring with yourself that people can see. That's what they will relate your country with. That's what they will say. That's why people say, oh, those Nigerians are like this, these Zimbabweans are like this, because the people that the Nigerians that people are meeting, or the Zimbabweans that people are meeting, are the things they are doing that are very kind of, and the majority of them are doing. That's what people will identify as your own kind of culture. That's what people will start saying that the people that are from your place are. So that is why it is so important that when you're relating with people outside your country, that you understand that you are the ambassador for your country. So the values you bring, the part of your culture that you want to show them is something that will bring good name to your place, so to say, so that people can have the trust to do business with your people. They can have the trust to allow your people to progress, or to give them space, or let them be progress or do something good for themselves. So your own attitude can actually show that value and show that culture in that international community, in that international space where you are representing your country the way that you should represent it.
Wow, thank you so much. You really break it down, and this is what myself will expect leaders to engage us when it comes to African diplomacy, values, education, and how we can fit in. So now, before I bring in our second guest, is it okay if you really picture on the area of businesses when we talk about African shop? Say, for example, we have African shop. At the same time, we also have professional role when it comes to doctors. How can this thing come together? What is the role of government in diplomacy, values, and culture in this area?
Okay. That's a really good question, because that was something I was looking at recently, and I just figured out that, if you look at China and India, for example, they have a really good model of the way that they use the diasporans, their people that have migrated out of their country to benefit their country back home. They also have a very intentional program where they send their citizens to go to abroad, to go to other countries, to go and learn specific things. The specific skills in the areas that they know that they need development in their country. So they send these people on, they sponsor them, they pay for their schools, and they make sure that they come back and use their skills. They don't stop there. They also help those of them that are already in the diaspora, those who live there. They help them to support them with finances that they use to come together and open good shops, like, create job for their people. And that is why these days you're seeing a lot of Pakistani shops, Indian shops, all of Chinese shops, big ones. They are able to invest really good into these shops and are able to provide not only that service for their people that are living there, but creating jobs for their people. So they are taking them away from the systematic racism that would have been preventing them from getting jobs. Okay, they are solving one of those problems there, and they are also helping them to have their culture, to preserve their culture as well as to have their services and their food. Remember, one major thing about culture is your food. So they are able
Mhm.
to make sure that they keep those things there for their people to have access. They are making life easier for their diasporans, for the people that are in the diaspora, so that those people will see the value in bringing that money or back home as well to go and invest back in their own country. We're not seeing a lot of that from the African continent at all. We're not seeing a lot of support for the people in the diaspora, for all of these African shops to start to grow. We're not seeing any cooperation between African expats or talents or rich ones, the rich ones per se. We're not seeing any cooperation, economic cooperation, and job, let me say skills kind of cooperation that will enable, that we create more jobs and more opportunities in our community, or that will also help us to have a powerful economic power by working together, by putting the money together, by putting the skills together, but having a joint kind of investment and plans that will help our children to have a better life. Instead, we see so many people using it for their own selfish kind of things, latest car, latest, all of those things. So again, we had to come back to understanding how the support that can go into this kind of businesses, the importance of sustaining this kind of African shops, the importance of cooperating in the level of experts and professionals like me and you are doing at the moment, how important it is that we start to have this economic power by working together.
Yes, thank you so much. You have really nailed the next question very well when we talk about education and diplomacy. So I'm just going to bring in our new guest now so that he can wrap up when we talk about the role of the government, as you were just saying. Let's get his view. Hello, our special brother. Thank you so much.
Hello,
Kofi, how are you today?
I am great, brother. See Joseph. How are you, ma?
very good. How are you? Good
I
to
am
have
doing great. I am doing great.
you.
Nice to have you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being here.
Yeah, very quickly, I don't know, you have the time to introduce yourself, and also before you came in, we were just beating on the values and cultural diplomacy and what is our role. I know Catherine have actually nailed it down. I was thinking if you could emphasize on the African leadership role in diplomacy, if it's getting better, what are their expectation? What are you expecting from them? Thank you, sir.
Oh, well, I believe our leaders have failed woefully because even the fundamentals that we need to survive as a continent, they have not done even the least. All we hear is just proposal and small talks. What I'm trying to say is this. For example, for those who've lived in Europe or the other end of the world, you'll see a 15-year-old European child tell you, I have visited 3 or 4 countries on the continent. But ask the same to a young African child. How many countries have you visited? You
Hmm.
understand? And that was why one thing the members of the Green Book, I mean Gaddafi and Kwame Nkrumah and the rest were talking about, is for us to have something like a one passport system and also one currency system, because that would
Wow.
have helped us. You understand? That would have also reduced the possibility or possibilities of Africans moving to the other end of the world to look for opportunities. But now let's think of it. Let us put it in a more logical perspective. Imagine you have $5,000 in your hand, or let's say $3,000, right? Would you prefer going to another African country, or would you prefer using it to go out of the continent? You
Um,
see,
we always think of going out of the continent,
so
isn't
you
it?
see what I'm saying. For example, the reason why, and the reason why people normally do that is because when you move around Africa, you understand, the exchange from your currency to dollar and to the country to which you are going actually destroys the amount of money you already have in hand.
Wow, wow.
You understand? And let's say you want to come back to your country, what happens? The money, you still continue destroying that money because now you will have to sell that currency at a buying rate.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? So now people are actually looking at it. So if I have $5,000 in my hand, I will actually come to a place where I have the possibility of making the same amount of money. All our currencies around the continent are devalued. You understand? But at least if we had one currency, it would have been easy for an African to say, "Okay, I'm tired of my country. Let me go and try in Nigeria. Let me go and try in Ghana. Let me go and try." You understand? I don't need to worry about how I'm going to about the dollar. You understand? I know the same currency I'm using in my country is the same thing I will be using in the next country. And another thing that I also want us to pay attention to is when it comes in terms of negotiations. You understand? Our leaders have been very bad at negotiations, and one thing I always say is this: colonization came through bad diplomacy.
Right.
Because yes, we were too friendly and we still continue to be friendly. You understand? It is like in all spaces we go to, our leaders, I'm talking about our leaders, in all the spaces they go to, they fight to be accepted. So that puts them at a weaker position in which they cannot negotiate. Because the moment you start fighting for someone to like you, then you have started losing your position of negotiation.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You see, so you have to go in with the ability, with the understanding that you are representing people. It is not about who likes you or who doesn't.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You see, so we this is something that we must stop. And another thing is, we these the leaders we now have put our leaders in a position, in our countries, in a position of dependency. You understand? We're now dependent on everything. If you ask a minister, okay, well, now I want to construct a road. Most times, especially in my country, you hear them say, "Oh, well, we're waiting for a so organization funding." So, are you telling me with all your doctorate, you are incapable of coming with means of raising money to construct something in your country and avoid debt?
Mm, mm.
You understand? Because think of it. Constructing that road is something that will boost income in your country. Constructing a bridge is something that will speed up the transportation of goods and services from one point to the other. So it is a question of common sense. But if you look at what we're constructing in most of our countries, most of these things belong to foreign organizations because they come in debt. You understand? So until we pay that debt, then that is when we can claim those things out as ours.
Mm, mm. Wow. Okay, now
Yes.
when we look at the community right now, I want to see your view when it comes to education and diplomacy. We have the challenges and we have the issue. What do you want? What is your take on it in terms of education and diplomacy?
Well, looking at education and diplomacy, I think we must first of all come up with our own system of education. You understand? An education in which we write up things or we design things that actually fit us. Because if you cannot educate yourself according to the understanding you have of yourself, it makes it very difficult for you to negotiate. Because let's think of it. Which education are we using to negotiate with Europeans? The same education they gave us.
Oh, you mean we should
So
be having our language, our culture, our values put together?
I think it should be according to our values and our culture. You understand? The language I have not I don't have too much problem with the language, but it should be according to our values. You understand? It's according to our values. We will understand how we will position ourselves when we come face to face with people who are negotiating with us. But if you look at our educational system, what do we have? You understand? All that we know about law, economics, international negotiations, or diplomacy. You understand? Diplomatic relations are what they taught us. So it actually means that they can spin the game whenever and however they want to.
Yeah, of course, of course.
You understand? We're moving according to their own terms, not our own.
Even if we have the policy, there is no working.
It's not working.
Not working. Okay, okay. I don't know. Catherine, do you want to do you have what was your take on the education and diplomacy? Do you have any different view?
Oh yes. First of all, the first thing we have to do, first of all, is to remove the kind of a curriculum that we're using at the moment. Um, in Africa, we don't have, our educational system doesn't encourage or doesn't prepare our young people for creation or for producing. It's preparing people for becoming PhD holders and paper certificate to become, just do theory and be dependent and be workers and be employees all the time. We don't have practical training. We don't have that kind of educational system that identify children's talents, skills, and just let them have those kind of skills that they need to have in order to produce, for us to not be consumers, for us to be producers. And no wonder our leaders like um, 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 Kofi rightly said, no wonder that they don't know how to generate money for their own country. No wonder they are very dependent on the loans from IMF to be able to fund things, projects in their country, because they haven't been, our educational system are not actually, they don't teach our people, they don't teach the Africans how they can generate, how they financial management, practical skills. Everything is still geared towards the development and the economic, the economic development of the West is geared towards us going back and working on that system or under the same people. So at the end of the day, we have to have tailored kind of education, tailored towards the need that we have, tailored towards our culture and our values as well. It is what it should be. If we're independent, if we're a sovereign country, that's what it should be. And that's what the West are doing, and that's what we should be able to do as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Before we go down to our community, because I'm going to talk about Sierra Leone, I'm also going to talk about Nigeria when it comes to inequality. So let's go back again to the question of education and diplomacy. We have partnership platform. When we look at OAU, is the Organization of African Unity, UN, United Nations. Do you think these guys are helpful? Where do we stand as an African when it comes to international relation? Do you think they are useful for us, Catherine, before Kofi?
I just want to quickly look at what the role of or OAU are. Yes, they're supposed to be Organization of African Unity. As the name implies, they are supposed to be promoting the unity and solidarity, the unity of African countries, of African states. They are supposed to be helping African states be independent, have their own, protect the integrity of African culture and our own independence and sovereignty, and to also be able to promote the trade union or trade relationship between African countries in order to make the lives of Africans better. We haven't seen that happen in a very long time. Our people, there's no anything that is helping Africa to come out of poverty. And again, we know 100% that Africa is not united. So the purpose of this organization in itself has been defeated. And it needs to be reevaluated, it needs to be looked at. To actually come to the terms where we're actually working towards having this united cooperation between African countries. At the moment, the borders are still closed. The border is more difficult to eat from one African person to go to another African country now than it is for you to even fly to some part of Europe. It's not easy, not even the flight, the money to go on the flight. All of that has been done up in a way that makes the objective of this organization completely impossible, and it's not working as we can see so far. So it hasn't helped us. We are not yet united as Africans. We are not trading amongst ourselves. We don't have free movement again amongst ourselves. So again, it's another institution that is serving. And another thing that is fundamental, that is supposed to be the principle or the objective of this organization as well, is that they will be able to free themselves from the colonial kind of system. But that hasn't happened yet because Africans are still very dependent on the loan from IMF, very dependent on us traveling to the West to go and work and give back into the economy. We haven't been able to be to decolonize. That hasn't happened. It's getting worse even as we see these days. So look, I don't think there's any help at the moment from that organization. And there's a lot of effort, or the effort that many young Africans are now putting up to try and unite themselves. We see a lot of organizations, young people, Pan-Africans, Pan-Africanists coming together, trying to promote one Africa, trying to do the work that this organization are supposed to be doing. And what are some of them getting? They're not getting the kind of support that they're supposed to get. Instead, they are even getting maybe sabotaged and not able to let them do this program. So I think that as Africans, we had to start to be proactive. Maybe hold the OAU to account and call them out and say, look, this is the thing that your organization are meant to be doing. We haven't seen anything like that. What is your plan to try and unite the countries to promote free trade and to open the borders for Africans to be able to freely go to each other's country and trade and empower Africans and bring Africans out of this poverty line situation that we are in. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kofi, what do you have to say? Do you have anything to add to in regard to, do you think United Nations leadership, they are helpful to our development, and in what area? I think if you unmute yourself. Sorry.
The UN has not been any useful organization to help Africans. The reason why I'm saying this is we have seen how many atrocities has happened on the land, and most of the attempts they have made is not a solution-based attempt. You understand? They wait for things to go bad, then they come in to solve. You understand? So the UN is out of it. They don't work for Africa. You understand? They work for the people who created it. And this is what people must understand. The only thing that makes us think that the UN is actually doing something in Africa is because some of our relatives are there making money. Some of our relatives are in there making money. But if you look at it from a general perspective, you understand they're not helping. When have you seen the United Nations in a country that doesn't have minerals? They're only interested in places that have minerals. They're only interested in countries that have minerals. And in this conflict in Congo, we saw what happened. A van was caught loaded with minerals. You understand? So they're not a solution-based organization. You understand? What they want is they want the problem to start, then they act as if they come in with solutions.
Wow.
Yes. So now, going to this aspect of the African Union, the African Union is a lot more useless than the United Nations. The reason why I am saying this is our last move to unite the continent was actually stopped by the AU. Do you remember Gaddafi's case? What did the AU say? You understand? And what was Gaddafi's move? Gaddafi's move was actually to introduce the one passport and the one currency. Where was African Union to stop the invasion of Libya? Because we all understood that Gaddafi was not being taken out because Gaddafi was not being taken out because some people don't like him. No, Gaddafi was being taken out because had he introduced the one currency, that would have probably reduced the use of dollar on the continent.
But they say he was a problem in the global community with regard to crisis rules, law, and all that.
But the thing is this: I come from Sierra Leone, which is a country that our conflict was even related to Gaddafi. Okay, and one thing I want us to know about that, yes.
Before we go on that, I know that's the next question I'm going to. Let's quickly go for a break for just 1 minute, and we'll be right back, viewers. Just
Okay.
1 minute before you need that one, because that's
Okay,
the
sir.
we are here today.
Yeah.
Hello, viewers. Thank you so much for your support. And again, we have our special guest today. Viewers, if you want to comment or you want to ask question, you're free to ask question. And if you're in anywhere you can't type and you want to come on the show to ask question with your voice, you also have the power to do that. Right now, we are going to go on to the practical aspect of this program when we talk about our community, where we are from. What is the impact? What are the changes that we have seen? So now I'm going to go back to you, Kofi. I know you were trying to say something about your community. So now, this is the direct question for you. Do you think we are still unsatisfied with Sierra Leone after April 1961?
Yes, we are, because I think it was 2 years back. Even our first lady came out explaining how certain important infrastructures were signed over during our independence. So that actually means that we our country cannot have 24/7 energy, right? And before that, I would like to just introduce my country to those who don't know about it. For if you have watched Blood Diamonds or La Amistad, it's a story that has to do with people from my country and my country also. La Amistad, we had this guy called Sembe Pierre, who was actually saying, "Please give me free. Please give me free." You understand? He's from Bond District, in my country, and then we have yes, La Amistad, the ship which was no Blood Diamond, which actually showed a region in our country where diamonds were found. And according to the story, you understand, out of nowhere there was a European guy, an American guy in the midst of our conflict. I believe that is something that must explain all you want to know. You understand? Just a stranger from nowhere fighting for a diamond from Sierra Leone. So now we had our independence in 1961, an event that was graced by the Queen herself. Okay, but what we have all seen the French countries go through, uh, our country also is going through it, in which we signed over very important infrastructure to the British. And another thing is, if we find things in our country, we're supposed to inform them. I remember back, I think it was in 2013, 2014, a huge package of that white powder was actually caught on our land. And you know what happened? It was the British who had to come and burn it, as if we don't know how to burn things ourselves. You understand? So that is how much we have given ourselves up to these countries. And if you find out, it is also the same with French colonized countries. I think it was one or two countries that didn't sign that pact, and one of them that I can remember was that of Sekou Touré, the neighboring country. He didn't sign that pact, and everyone knew what happened in Guinea. All the structures that the French had built during colonial times were destroyed when they left. You understand? And I believe we even saw it recently in Niger whilst they were leaving.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You understand? So this is something that is constant. Okay, and it is quite heartrending that you'll have to talk to an educated person that we have to take our countries by ourselves. You understand? We have to find a way. And most people like, no, we cannot do it by ourselves because we need so and so person. And then my question to people is always, okay, well, now these people have been here now. If we calculate before colonization and after, it's almost like 200 years. What have we actually benefited? You see, and they made sure that after giving us independence, one of the things they did was the destruction of our currencies. Because what happened? Yes, what happened was when we were colonized, we were using the British pound. And it was even easy for people from my country to migrate to England and study. Then all of a sudden, you understand, we were now talked into having our own currency. Right? So we had this currency, it was kind of strong up till 98, 99. Okay? Then what happened? Yes, 98, 99. 90, no, 90. NPRC was up to 96, 97, 98. Yes, up to that, up to those times. What happened? All of a sudden, we had a civil conflict in our country, and it wasn't a tribal conflict. And now let me just explain the story that they told us about the civil conflict. That a photographer was jailed unrightfully, and suddenly that photographer was able to come in contact with arms dealers. Imagine a photographer. You understand, some of the stories of the conflicts that happen across that happen on the African soil do not make sense. Where can a photographer find weapons? But then let me just tell you how they try to narrate this story. He tried to find his weapons from someone who was in the American prison system. That was Charles Ganketelo. Yes, he was able to get. He was able to arm himself from after contacting Charles Ganketelo, someone who was believed to have fled the United States prison system, and he went up to the level of becoming president of Liberia. You see, he went to the level of becoming president of Liberia, and he was never caught. And we even got to understand that he had funds from another person who actually ruled Liberia after. That was Ellen John Sirleaf. You understand? So now going back to the conflict in our nation, we saw the coming of UN troops on our soil. Even though lives were being taken, you understand? The United Nations told us, no, we are here with the blue beret. We have to change our beret before we can do anything. So it is not about life. You understand? It is about making use of a conflict. And if you look at it, the story is the same across the African soil. They come with the blue.
Sorry, what you analyze now, when we look at the April 1961, there has not been any independence in that community.
Independence is not. I believe whenever Africans talk about independence, one question that we must ask is, what did we give in exchange for it? You understand? I believe all Africans must ask themselves.
For example, the gold miner, is it Tony Blair that they said is the leader of the gold miners, isn't it?
Actually, there was this guy. I had actually forgotten his name. I think he was even head of I think London Mining. Yes. So normally what they do is they devalue your currency, then after they come in and invest in your country. Okay, but those investments, you understand, it has another direction. For example, if they say we're coming to open a school, it's not actually a school. You understand? They're more focused on your minerals. Right? Just imagine right after colonization, we were one of the highest producers of cacao and cocoa, which was something my grandfather was also involved in.
Yeah.
You understand? Liberia was also the highest producer of rubber. But what happened after they had devalued our currencies, it actually meant that people had to work twice now, you understand, to be able to earn They were able to be able to earn the same amount of money they earned before, or to put their children through school. You
Just
understand? So
imagine.
it is always, yes, the structures are always the same. And there was someone who was talking about Liberia, about Nigeria one of these days. You understand, about how they cajoled one of their ministers to they talked him into devaluing the currencies. You understand? And it was something we saw recently also. Obama flew to China, trying to convince the Chinese president to make, no, it was about making their currencies equal to the dollar. You understand? But he was smart enough to tell him no. You understand? So the thing is, all about their diplomacy, now going to diplomacy, all about the diplomatic ties we have had with them is something, is more based on them trying to dupe us. They never
Mhm.
do anything that both sides can benefit from. You understand? And that is why lately, that now that Africa is linking with China, you see so many people are worried and they're criticizing China heavily. Because the thing is, if we people countries are asking China how can I say, transport systems and so on, and China is building it for them. You understand? So it is actually looking like a win-win negotiation between countries and China.
It is. It is. I don't know
Yeah.
if Catherine. Sorry, I'm just going to quickly bring Catherine into this. Catherine, I don't know what you think in regard to policy, international relation, because when we look at the issue that happened in Sierra Leone, right now as we are talking, lots of people are facing still mental health problem. When we look at 60 years old down, or looking after parents who doesn't have hand, legs, and all that. What do you think in international diplomacy, all this policy they put in place? How are do you see them useful? Is there anything you think we are benefiting from it?
Um, okay, yeah. Since I'm not really familiar with the Sierra Leone thing, I will just go general. But there's a question as well in the comment section, and from Sammy there, and you might take a look at that for us to answer later. Um, the thing is that in is the way that Kofi was saying it. The geopolitics of the world, in international relations, there is a lot of negotiation. It's survivor of the fittest, if you want to look at it that way, is who knows how to negotiate the best. If you're able to use what you have, if you're able to put yourself in a place where you have so much power, then you can dictate for other people what they have to do. That's the way the politics of the world has been playing out. The certain people have been able to empower themselves with a lot of weapon, a lot of economic power. So they have dominance over others who have not been able to build their own power. That is why you see countries like China, North Korea, and some other countries who actually understand the way these international relations work. So they build up ammunition, they build up deterrence. They call it deterrence in international relations. You show your muscle so that people can see that you are not an easy prey, that people cannot just come and take advantage of you. You flex your muscle so people can see that you have military power, that you are able to protect your territory, because it's all about territory. It's all
Mhm.
about economic power, and it's all about military power. These are the things that these are the kind of countries that will call the shot when it comes to relating with other people. So it is not a fair place, not a place you go and say, please have mercy on me. I'm just a good member of this international community. It has to be fair, equality. Everybody is going to be equal. The people who promote equality, they see very well how much Africa is so disadvantaged. And the international community, if you think, if it's all about, yes, it's fairness and justice and all of that, then why are children starving to death in Africa while other countries in the West are having too much extra overproduction, while there are children who don't have food? So you will understand that this is not about making everybody's life better. This is not about this relationship, this international relation. We're going to sit down together on a round table, different countries, and we're just going to say we have a product together. Let us all make sure that everybody is fine. No, it is about who is able to acquire this power more. Then you will be able to dictate for the rest of the world. And if, as long as you can keep acquiring this power, and as long as you can keep using these deterrents to show people that you are that you are the boss, then everybody else have to bow down and have to listen to you. That's what is happening in the world at the moment. And Africa has been put in a situation where we have no military power, we have no economic power, we have no political power either. Because our politicians, the people that are in our leadership positions are also being put there by these same people. So they dictate for us through these leaders what has to happen in our continent. The same situation has also put Africans and our own children in a place where we're not even able to, we have all of these things that you've mentioned, this health problem, this poverty problem, this even food crisis at the moment as we're suffering. But this is as a result of the fact that in these international relations, we have been so left out of the equal power or the opportunity to develop ourselves, because we're so dependent on the people who we have allowed to negotiate better than us for a very long time. We have gone there to say, please just put us in, instead of saying, I have this is mine and you have this. So if you had to take mine, what are you giving me in return? So we have our militaries, the police in Nigeria, for example, are being trained by Britain. Britain is the one that are training Nigerian police. And Nigerian police are on the street carrying guns, and they can unalive people at any time. And these are
but this doesn't carry gun.
And it doesn't happen in the Britain, it doesn't happen in the UK. It doesn't. So you have to understand that, unfortunately for us, it is, and maybe you will say, I don't blame them that much, because they understand the power of the war. They understand the way that this diplomacy works, and they are using it to their advantage. But as long as we sleep, as long as we don't understand that we are the ones who are supposed to negotiate properly, that we are the ones who are supposed to ensure that we have the right political power in place, that we have the right military power, we have the right economic power, as long as we sleep over this and we don't understand this and we keep begging them to have mercy and give us something, it will never work.
I know you're doing a lot at the moment. You have been in the community for a very long time. Before I ask you a question about inequality against the women in Nigeria, maybe if you look at the question here, maybe we can raise some awareness again, because you've been doing a lot in regard to bringing leadership community, developing the youth. At the same time, you have free platform where you promote education, and when it comes to languages, comment, leadership, and what to say so that the government will listen. Let's look at the question, if this one can tally your empowerment community. It is about Sammy. He said, good evening. What do you think is the best way for us as Africans to continue to grow, even with this problem slowing us down? Because Kofi was talking about inequality, he talked about the disadvantage of the community as well. When we look at the mining, I know Tony Blair is the head of the gold whatever mining there at the moment as a company. We also look at education that you were saying. We also talk about leadership. Where are we? What do they expect? What do you expect Sammy to know?
Thank you that question. Thank you, Sammy, as well, for asking that really good question, because what we always try to emphasize on is solution. We can't keep complaining. We have to come up with solutions, or else we will never move anywhere. Our weapon of warfare should not be about the mouth alone now. It has to be about knowledge and power and empowerment. So we have to, if you look at the things that I highlighted that enables these countries to be able to dominate and be able to play these international, these geopolitics, this kind of world politics that means that they put themselves in a situation or in a position where they can dictate for the rest of the world. They have these weapons, and these things are economic power, military power, and political power. Now, we as Africans are disadvantaged in this area. So, how do we get there? We need, first of all, to educate Africans. Africans need to know how this politics works. They have to be educated enough to understand how to use the tools, whatever we have at the moment. We know we don't have much, but we need education, tailored kind of education, more practical approach, no more theories and wanting to be PhD holders and all sort of doctors that don't produce nothing. We now need some practical approach, some practical trainings and skills, empowering ourselves economically on a mass scale, tapping into people's personal skills and just going on those kind of mass scale economic empowerment of our people. Education in terms of leadership, how international diplomacy works, changing our own mindset and the individualistic mindset of I want to be bigger than other people. We have to understand how cooperation works. That if one person uses 1,000 to do something, they might make a gain of 2,000. If two people come together and put their 1,000 together and do the same business, they will make a gain of even more than 5,000 if two comes together. It means that we have to understand the power of the unity of purpose in terms of economic development. So say like three of us are here today, we are all like we're doing this similar kind of work, activism work. We're doing educational kind of work. We're collaborating now with the three of us. The knowledge that people can get from me, from Kofi, and from Mr. Alex, it will be huge because now we are tapping into three people's power, three people's knowledge, and that is the way we have to look at our way of doing business. We cannot be that individualistic way of doing it because we don't have enough. If we do it on ourselves, we cannot really grow. So we have to start to understand how businesses need to come together, put your resources together, and start building economic power. Production should be our watchword now. Production, production, production. Let's not educate ourselves the kind of education that will only turn us into the same slave that what we've been trying to avoid. Workers for other people, employees for other people, trying to get visa to go and get all the kind of job. We now need to start looking at all of the skills that people don't value, the mechanics, the shoemakers, the furniture makers, the electricians, the people who can do handy and skilled work. We need to embark on those kind of things. And what else? We have to understand how political participation works. And it is so important that we don't get so distracted with the way we're consuming social media in the wrong way. We are there watching entertainment, playing music, enjoying life, keep looking for, today's benefit. No, we have to think long term, and we have to actually utilize our time in a way that we don't even spend the little money that we already have on social media. There is an intentional system that makes us still lose the little money that we already have. So we have to understand this retaining of money back where we don't spend it into a lot of things that are distracting us at the moment. So we will now be more, all of us have to train ourselves that we need to understand politics ourselves. We need to understand how we can participate with the mindset of getting good political leaders into each and every one of the African countries, because remember I said we need political power, and we don't have political power if we have these puppet leaders continuously being installed in our countries. We also need, again,
you are right. So, sorry to stop you. To interject what you were saying. I think Joy Innocent mentioned exactly the same thing. I think you actually answered our question. I'm trying to see if we can round up with the questions on the screen, because she was saying, in my opinion, before Africa can solve this problem, we need a solid government. That is where you were talking about the education part of it. and you talk about leadership training, you talk about integrated activity partnership at the same time. You also mentioned social media platform. We need to have good purpose of going to social media in regard to the issue we have on the ground, isn't it? The grassroots. We can't go on social media because it's just social. We need to have a purpose for it. So I want, I don't know if Kofi, you want to answer Lucy's question. Then, Catherine, you can answer Opeyemi a question in regard to inequality we face in the women community, because his question kind of fits into that. So I'll put Lucy for Kofi to answer.
Okay, Lucy, I will try to answer your question with a simple with an analogy that is so simple that you yourself will understand. If I let me say I have a car, I want to sell that car. You understand? And let's say you are the richest woman in my neighborhood. Then I come to you, I start saying, Lucy, please buy this car. Whatever you give me, I'm okay with it. You understand? Expecting you to feel sorry for me, to give me the amount of money I'm looking for that car. Is it making sense? You understand? If I have something to sell, it is my obligation to come and tell you, Lucy, I'm selling this car for $5,000. You understand? Then I open negotiations. If you want to pay $5,000 in full, no problem. Okay? If you want to negotiate, no problem. But coming to you and expecting you to have sympathy for me and just give me the money like that because I have a car I want to sell off, it's not making sense. Going to your doorstep and saying, Lucy, look at the car, give me whatever you want to. You understand what I'm saying? And this is what our leaders do. They go to these men.
You mean they try to put themselves as a charity-based criminal?
Exactly. You understand? They put themselves in a position in which they want to be accepted, like I said. And in negotiation, it's not about people accepting you. I have something to sell, and I must make sure I don't go home with a loss. It is as simple as that. You understand? But most of our leaders go into negotiations and they don't mind if they lose or not. The reason being, these guys are being paid in dollars, even though our economy is not dollar-based economies.
Even Tinubu's election was by dollars. They were using dollars on the street.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now
our economies are not dollar-based economies, but these men receive their salaries in dollars. So now this is why I tell people, it is time for people to step back from this circus. Every individual, don't take part in your elections. Don't take part. Step back from it. Let me just give you guys another solution. Let your fanaticism be about your survival. Forget religion, forget football, forget all these celebrities. Let your fanaticism be about your own survival.
I think you need the religious part of it. Spending
it's the truth.
Benefiting you.
It's the truth. If you know history, you will understand that the church was designed to be in bed with politics. The man who actually created the church to be a solid institution, you understand, was not a Christian. He was pagan. The man who wrote King James version, I just don't want to go deep into that, you understand? But you guys do your own research.
Next time.
You see, you do your own research. The church was designed to be in bed with politics. That is why let me just give you guys something to think about. Why aren't your pastors organizing you to protest against the system, even though they know it's corrupt?
I think because they benefited from it, isn't it?
So this is it. Why aren't pastors organizing their members and say, guys, we're all suffering. Let us go into the streets. You understand? Because pastors are known to be shepherds. You understand? To lead the flock. But now you see your flock suffering because of bad governance, and yet still you cannot mobilize them to go on the streets and do something about it.
Wow,
Do you
wow.
understand? And the fact that you are also you are also receiving enough offering to change that in dollar. You fly first class. You ride around in a bulletproof car, so you don't even care.
Hmm.
And that is why when you look at these politicians when they're doing their campaign, they always go to churches. And pastors pray for them. Even independent of how corrupt they are, your pastor tells you, you say, let us pray for them so God can guide them. Guide them to where? Guide
I
them
would
to
be
more money,
surprised.
probably.
Women fast more than even the Christians, isn't it? They fast.
Yeah.
Anyway, another time we can talk more about spirituality and believing.
Yeah, no problem, sir. No
Um,
problem.
lastly, I am when we look at the inequality in Nigeria today, women inequality, education, a lack of development, a lack of leadership, a lack of partnership. But when these guys cross over, they do better than we actually see them in the community. They have more confident leadership role. We have Kemi. I know Kemi is not in the positive side of the community, but however, she gave a view when she was in Nigeria. Then she crossed over. Then she flipped from there being a leader of conservative in the United Kingdom from Nigeria. Catherine, I don't know if you can use Owesu Opayemi Sir Otumba a question to look at this perspective. What do we do? Where are we going? What do you expect? How can we get out of this?
Thank you, also Otumba, we call you. The thing is this that first of all, we everything is in sequence. Everything has its own process, and the mistake that has been happening in the past is that we've had a lot of messages gone out, but we've actually approached it in the wrong way because we have not been able to understand how the system that has been holding us back works. So we actually have to first of all embark on knowledge revolution, I call it, because people have to know. Like you now, you've heard us talk about things here today. You have to be telling other people, telling each other. So people need to be aware. Secondly, we have to take advantage of the technology that we now see. A lot of our young people are now into IT and all of these things. We now have to bring that on a large scale to our continent. We have a lot of boys in our continent who are very, very tech savvy, who have a lot of powerful knowledge in this technology, in this IT. And some of the time that they will use it wrongly, where people call them the Yahoo boys. These people are brilliant human beings that we can empower them to use that knowledge to develop our African, to create some very innovative things that we can use to build our technology in even a more advanced way. We also need industrial farming, industrial revolution, if that's something that we can see in the nearest future. The problem, though, is that when I watched the news recently about the kind of sanction that was placed on Russia, and the sanction act includes that equipment, like machineries and equipment, will not be sold to them. This is the kind of thing that helps people like the European Unions. They are able to sell machineries and industrial machines to each other. This thing is what Africa has been denied of. It's difficult to ship something like that to Africa. They won't even sell to you because that actually holds us back from producing on a large scale, from doing industrial farming and in all of those things that will help to even feed our people. So we have food, we'll be able to even feed our own people before we think of exporting. So the production happens in their place because they have the machinery. They haven't been able to allow us to buy those machinery. So this kind of sanction, even though it has not been pronounced, it has been on Africa for a very long time. So we need to go on a large scale in terms of agriculture. Now, those of our young people who have gone out of the country, or those who have had the opportunity to find ways to get equipment, how do we get them? Look at China, look at the other countries. How did they manage to get themselves all this equipment? We have to look into this approach that they use so that we can get this necessary equipment, or we can produce this equipment. Our fathers in those days, the people of our ancestors, how will I call it, in those days, had a way of producing their own things. They even made guns by themselves. We are not at that level anymore. So we need to come up with those kind of machines that we need to do agriculture, the way that will feed our people, the way that we can have packaging happening. We need electricity across board. And how do we get that to happen? We just need to, get rid of puppet leaders, honestly, because we need to have electricity to be able to preserve our food and be able to make them available at all times, and to have them for, different seasons, that people will still be able to have all of those things. So technology, agriculture, and young people, empowerment of businesses, entrepreneurship is what we really need on a large scale. And we need all of the equipment and the machineries to do this job, but we also need the access to having those kind of equipment. Since we have leadership problem, we still have to push as people. But I want to touch a little bit on the women's issue. In terms of women, a disadvantage that is there for women, I want to say that as a person who I had went to the university in Nigeria, and as a person who I know that most women have had good education from where I come. I know that there was a system where women were not participating in like property sharing and all of that. It was the men that were giving property. And if you look at politics as well, you'll be saying, I think a lot of, in fact, where I come from, when women go into politics, people praise them. They're like, wow, that woman is so strong. She's in politics. The problem that is happening, that I would say, is that there are still men who have this abusive mindset, who still see women, objectify women, and they bring it into the political scene. They like, look at the case of Natasha now, for example. So all of those disadvantages are there, but I don't think women are free to go into politics in Africa at all. We just don't have the enabling environment for things to really function, even in terms of politics. We don't have the right system to protect women's rights, even in leadership positions in politics. This is a governance issue that needs to be dealt with. Before we can start dealing with women's rights, we have to deal with governance issue, because when we have the right government in place, we have the kind of we have a minister for, say, like for children and youth and those kind of department that will look after women's issue as well. So that will happen when we have good leaders, and that's why we have to participate in politics. We have to be, we all have to participate in politics and make sure that we're bringing good leaders, young people with experience, with the skills that are able to plan on a long-term basis, do all of the things that we need to be able to develop our country. That's when women will really, really get their position, because that way there will be a structured and a set down rules that women's rights will be protected. So we get there at that time. Talking about Kemi, on the other hand, Kemi is a token, a kind of token that you don't need. Those kind of representation that we don't need in our African community. To be honest, it is better to not have representation at all than to have a tokenism, because it is so dangerous. That means that they can use a person like you. To be honest, what Kemi is representing is what our leaders, African leaders, have always represented for us. They are mouthpiece that are being used by far right extremists to say the things that they want to say, but they can't say it because they will be called racist. But we have ambitious Africans, or ambitious people amongst us, people who are amongst us who are ambitious, who don't care if they have to put their people under the box in order to get to where they want to go to. So those kind of representation doesn't work for us. It works against us, because those people will be the mouthpiece of those who want to keep us where we are, and they will only do things that benefits them. So that's the way I look at that kind of a representation that Kemi is at the moment. But I think that, we still have a long way to go in terms of women's rights. A lot of things that are still happening to women in our countries that shouldn't, but those are actually governance issues that will be taken care of if we actually get our leadership situation right. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think the fact that we are going to call it a day, thank you so much for your support. Viewers, we have nailed all the questions in regard to inequality in the community. We've talked about leadership, we talked about Sierra Leone, we talked about the community that has been affected in regard to international and education diplomacy. So now, one thing I learned from this show today, myself, I don't know what the viewers learn, you can also say what you learned, is about education, is about integration, and is also about taking part in politics, which we all are responsible for that. So I don't know if we want to just give our last submission in regard to the last program here. I think it's about development in the community. we've had lots of what is it called? We have lots of activity going on, right? And you engage in TikToking, you engage in YouTubing, Facebooking. How can people take part in this activity? How can they contact you in regard to continuity for global leadership and continuity? I think Kofi want to talk first or before Kofi?
Kofi can go this time since I talked last. Okay.
Okay. We are talking about Africa's development. What can we do? I believe we have seen examples. This is not equal. This is and we must study those examples. We saw what Burkina Faso, Mali, and the others did. You understand? They took their countries. And if you look at some of our countries, the reason why we haven't taken it is that there are so many people who are questioning our own capacities to run our own countries. But yet still, you look on the other hand, you see other Africans doing the same thing, and you still clap. Right? So it is very contradictory. Right? We saw how these people have taken their countries, you understand, and they are making sure that they're dealing with what they can deal with now with the resources they have. Because when I look at Africa, I always tell people that the capacity that we have on the African soil is enough for us not to even move out of the continent. Right. And I remember, I think I was having this conversation with someone yesterday in which I said, yesterday or the day before yesterday, I hope I'm not wrong. But I was saying, now we don't have much on, we don't have the basic fundamentals for us to bring investments. Right. And this is where the selfishness of our leaders come in. Because we don't have the fundamentals, but yet still you want to collect high taxes. And now what is happening is we have foreigners coming into our countries. They have understood this system. So what they do is they bribe. They bribe these politicians and they have them in their pockets. Mm-hmm. So they don't see any need to lower taxes. Because if you are really thinking about your people, then it means you must put yourself in a position to forego salary, or let's say you lower taxes so people can come in and invest. Mm-hmm. Right? Because people have so much brilliant ideas, but the thing is that person is looking at it as if, well, now I have $1,000. I want to start my small shop. If I make this shop nice, it means I will be paying this much, being that I will be responsible for energy, for my electricity. You understand? Probably there's no the water system is not that good. I would probably have to pay for a whole thing, and we don't have 24/7 water supply. So there must be subsidies for people to do business on the land. And this is why you are looking now. If you look at young people, if they can come up with $5,000, they'll prefer to come out here. You understand? And hustle, do whatever it takes, than invest on the land. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I have a friend. Let me just use my friend as an example. He sells shoes. Now he's selling shoes so he can move out of the country. You think of it. And this is what we always say. It is not that people are not making the effort, but the politicians are not meeting people midway. Mm-hmm. And that was why I said before, young people, abstain from dancing for these useless politicians. They don't have you at heart. You understand? Stay away from the whole democratic and political process. You understand? Think about yourself. You voting or not voting will not change anything. You are just being used as scapegoats to dance and create hype. Because at the end of the day, look at yourself, look at their children. They study in the best schools, they travel to the best countries.
Yeah, but votes count just because we are not engaging in leadership education to understand the awareness of taking over the politicians, isn't it?
Sir Alex, voting is a useless right. It's a useless right. If you want to prove me, I will prove myself right. Check how many times your country has voted, then check development.
100%. I know where you're
saying. It is not compatible, so it is a useless right.
I agree.
So if you
I
ask,
agree with what you're saying. I
if you
totally
look at out here in the West, if you look at out here in the West, people just don't vote, but they can go out and protest for their own rights. They can protest for their citizen rights.
with
And
the
another
politics.
thing is
Okay.
politicians go into politics knowing that they're there to serve the people. But in our own society, our politicians are like mini gods.
Yeah, you're right.
You understand?
Yeah, you're right.
The man wants to put a table in a small hall. Then he will do a cutting tape ceremony for that table.
Yeah.
And people will clap for him.
I think there's a way out. We have to start first. The voting count. What I understand is that there's corruption. So our society, the vote doesn't count because it's corrupt. They can see it. So I expect we to be able to educate these guys that leadership solution is what we need to focus on.
Sir Alex, if people work in communities and take a few steps back from the political process, I bet you they will change by force.
100%. 100%. Like what we
You
talk about.
understand what I'm saying? Let me say this. It is a basic law of business. People
Yeah.
buy what is people sell what is being bought.
100%. 100%.
You understand? So if people step back from the political system, these politicians find out that the youths are not willing to dance anymore. You understand? They will take your rice and eat it and still not vote for you.
Thank you. That is what I'm saying now.
And that's why I'm saying step back from it. Step back from the circus. You have
They
to.
are
Let me
not
say
aware.
this.
They are
We're
not
not
aware of
looking
that.
at we're not looking at the democratic process with any level of selfishness. I believe people must think of it in a selfish way. You understand? Think about yourself. Is this going to benefit me as a person? You understand? Is this going to benefit my children as citizens of this country?
Yeah.
If the answer is no, step back from it.
You're 100% right. I accept what you're saying. We're just gonna move this to another day and make sure we
Oh,
do
no problem, sir. No problem.
diplomacy. I'm really pleased to have you two here today. Catherine, do you want to add to the opportunity and where people can actually because Kofi, you didn't talk about TikToking, you didn't talk about YouTube. How would they contact you?
Well, I am not on YouTube yet. I'm hoping to come here. Okay, and I'm first of all trying to connect with brilliant minds around you understand, around the world, African people who are very brilliant around the world, and that was how I met C Joseph, and C Joseph has been the one who's presented me to various groups. You understand? Most people know me as Problem because I have unconventional thoughts about so many things. Yes. So, but you can find me on TikTok. Most times I'm on Joseph's platform, and other times she's on my platform. So my handle is African Teacher 2.4, and there is where we have our conversations, right? I believe I am someone who believes if we have to look at the problems we're facing on the continent, we have to look at ourselves as parts of our own problems. You understand? Because complaining about what Europeans have done to us is actually benefiting to them. You understand? Thinking about always remembering the history of slavery. Know this: the people who were enslaved, even though they were, you understand, but they made use of the opportunities they had to do better for themselves. You understand? And if you look at some of us today, most people are stagnated because they want to use that as some kind of a crutch for them not to do anything. Right? This is why I'm saying the people who were enslaved, they were actually objective about what they wanted. So I am someone who incentivizes people, especially youths. Be objective about what you want. Forget the distraction. Because at the end of the day, if you cannot do better with yourself, you are just a number. No one cares about your existence. You are just a number. So if you don't put value on yourself, if you don't see yourself as a valuable entity, someone will come and determine your value, and that will be the end of you.
as they have been determining the future leadership.
Exactly. So let
Yeah,
me just stop here, sir.
yeah, thank you, thank you. I
Yeah.
just really want to counter what you said in regard to valuing yourself. I know you use the word objective. That's to be more practical in the community. Very, very important. Thank you so much. Just, do you want to say something?
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone that has been listening. Princess, Linda, Otumba, everyone. I just want to say thank you for participating. This is it is the way we have to be doing it. We have to learn at the act of participating. We have to understand that if we have to grow, we need to be intentional about supporting each other, promoting our own businesses, and spending the money within the community. Also, having that intentional mindset to not to encourage local support of local businesses and all of those things. Because if you in my own country, Nigeria, at the moment, if they even want to sell something, they have to put a picture of a white person for people to buy. I cannot understand that concept. So what are we actually doing? We are actually helping the system of white supremacy to keep growing. We have to value ourselves. We have to protect our identity. We have to support each other. We have to support our businesses so that we can build that economic power and that political power and all that educational power as well that we've talked about here today. So thank you everyone that have participated. I used to have, I'm available on TikTok. That's where African Teacher was talking about earlier, because we're friends on TikTok. We do things together. We collaborate. We're practicing what we're preaching here today, trying to work together so that we can build this huge community that we empower each other. So they call me C Joseph on TikTok. So I'm there on TikTok on C Joseph. I do a community organization in Ireland called the Ethnic Minority Hub. So I'm the founder of that organization. And yeah, it's so good to be here to have this wonderful discussion here. Thank you, African Teacher, my dear friend, and thank you, Sir Alex, for having me.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you too for coming. And viewers, I really, really thank you so much for your support and the community and for giving us chance to talk, listen to us, ask your question. I think your question actually was more educational, kind of more focusing to let us know that you were not only listening, but you were also contributing to get the educational question on. Thank you so much. Again, you can see Joseph again on TikTok. Or I'm going to put a profile under this program on live there, so you can be able to search on see Joseph, search on African Teacher. African Teacher is always answering questions when it comes to African education and mindset. I will use the word mindset. If you want to change your mindset, join on TikToking. It's free, it's easy for you to get along. We will always support you. If you have issue in your country right now, I know it's good for us to keep silent sometimes when we are minority. However, come to TikTok and share your view. Talk to us and we can always support you. Our hands are open. If you're in Ireland, I know you might not know see Joseph everywhere. However, she's very popular in the Ireland community, and she can also support you in terms of migration question and answer. I'm not talking about visa from Nigeria. I'm not advertising a visa. I'm just saying if you have migration issue, integrating and all that, she's always available for you. Again, thank you viewers for coming, and then thank you my special guest, Catherine. And
Thank you very much, Mr. Alex. It was a pleasure. I am always open to coming around and sharing, because we want the information to get to as many people as possible, especially the young generation. One thing I always say is, for some of us, we will just look at it as if we have failed. But the best we can do to actually pay the reparations, you understand, to the next generation, so that they will not start from where we started. You understand, they will not continue with the ideology we grew up with. You understand, we just have to do this work. We have to tell them, because yes, most of them only have access to limited media. You understand? Where a media that actually puts them in a position of inferiority. And some of us are here to come and tell you that you are more than you can see in yourself. That is why I always encourage people, look inwardly. You understand? You put value on yourself. That is how you can be able to transfer value to any other person. Yeah.
And
Very,
then
very
Lucy and Sammy, I forgot to mention your name, so thank you guys.
all right.
Thank you very much, everyone who commented, who's been patiently listening to us.
All right. I'm gonna see you two in the back door in the next 1 minute. Thank you, viewers.
Okay,
Thank
sir.
you for watching. I will see you some other time. Bye bye for now.